Hey guys, on some of our PowerStep applications, when you use shorter trucks, some of the applications call out to cut down the boards to fit your specific application. And so we're going to show you today how to cut those down so that they'll fit for those applications. Now, there's two types of boards we have out there. There's our older generation board and our newer generation board, which have just started to ship around the spring of 2011. So the first step is you're going to have to remove the end cap to your board, and so I'm going to show you how each of the different end caps are removed on the different boards. So the older generation board, you can tell it's going to be a smooth end cap with no screw in the end, and there's a screw on the underside here that you remove to remove the end cap, and use a 3/16 Allen wrench and just loosen this Allen screw here, just a couple of turns, and then you can remove the end cap. Now that's the older generation board. Now the newer generation board, you can tell you're going to have an Allen screw right in the center of the end cap. And on this one, you can go ahead and loosen this maybe 3 or 4 turns, and then if the screw starts to back out, just give it a hit to slide the internal wedge inside and keep it nice and loose. And then once you've loosened that screw, you can go ahead and push the end cap off. And then make sure your wedge is still attached to the end cap. If you loosen the screw all the way or too many turns, that's totally fine. Just make sure you get that wedge if it's still inside the extrusion, and don't lose that wedge. And then keep these together, and we'll reinstall these after you cut down the board. Okay, now we're going to show you our suggested method of cutting down the board. And this method is just using real simple tools. If you're a shop and you have a bandsaw or some other power tools, that's definitely going to be an easier way to do it, but this is a real simple way to do it with common tools that you probably have around your workshop. So first of all, I'd say have your workbench laid out and ready to go, and then use the cardboard from your PowerStep packaging and go ahead and lay it down on your workbench, and just to make sure that you don't scratch up the board when you're going to cut on it. So we're going to suggest that you clamp your board to your workbench, and what we've done here, we used a piece of cardboard just to protect the paint surface on the board when you clamp it to your bench, and when you start to use your hacksaw, that you don't scrape the paint off. So go ahead and lay down your cardboard and bring your board to the edge of your workbench, and then you're going to go ahead and clamp it to the edge. We're going to use these just common quick grips. A lot of people have these in your garage, but really any clamp will do. But the nice part about these is they have rubber jaws on it. So if you use a C-clamp or something like that, make sure that you use maybe an extra piece of cardboard or a piece of tape to make sure you don't mark up your board. And then when you go ahead and clamp your board, you don't want to clamp on any of the surface down here. You want to clamp kind of right here on the edge where it's reinforced, because if you clamp here and really go to town, you could put a dent in your board. So make sure that each application in the instruction manual is going to tell you exactly how much of the board you need to cut off. For this demonstration, we'll just show you we're going to cut off 5 inches. So go ahead and take a tape measure and some way to mark the board, and go ahead and mark out 5 inches, a couple locations along the board. Okay, now a trick to connect your marks and to make a nice straight line against this curved surface is take a piece of tape and just go ahead and connect those lines. And now that'll give you a nice straight guide edge to cut your board off. Now that we've got our board cut with our piece of tape to show us our guideline, we're going to use our hacksaw, and we're going to cut off this extra piece here. And I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of a technique that we've found that works really good for cutting these. So first, you want to start, we're going to make a little cut at the beginning and a little cut at the end, and then we're going to kind of connect the cuts. So we're going to start out here, and then really carefully. So we want to get this front cut and cut just about to the edge here and get kind of an angled cut so that you get a nice slot started here. And then we're going to do the same on the back side here. So start by notching right up against your tape line. Just get it started, and then angle down and connect to the other part of the extrusion so that you're notching them both equally. And you want to do the same thing. You want to get about a 45-degree cut and cut down just about to the edge there. Okay, now that we've got that slot cut and this slot cut, we're going to kind of carefully start to cut across this curved part of the board and connect those two slots. If it starts to wander a little bit, this is the time when you want to correct it, because once you start cutting into the board, it's hard to correct the hacksaw blade. But once you get that line cut, just kind of work your way through. Now that you've cut through this curved part of the board, you're going to go ahead and cut all the way down to the grip surface down below. Now your original two angle cuts in the front and in the rear are going to help guide the blade nice and straight down and through and to finish your cut. And so once you start sawing on the grip part of the board, this last part of the extrusion, it's pretty much just grunt work then, and you don't have to worry about your blade wandering. But getting these initial cuts on the front and the back are going to really help keep your blade straight. Okay, and now we've cut through all the internal portions of the board, and now the last piece we have is this grip piece on the back. So now you just have to work your way through it, and it's going to take a little bit, and if you can, you want to avoid angling your blade too much to hurry up the cut. You want to kind of keep it as flat as you can in order to keep that cut nice and straight. So it takes a little bit, but it's worth taking a little extra time to make sure that cut's straight. A good idea when you're done is just take a file and kind of knock down the burrs on the outer edge especially, and that'll help you get the end cap back on. Okay, and now we're going to show the reinstallation of the end cap. And this is once again the older style end cap, and it's got the little weld nut in here. And you want to align this with the mounting track on the board and just make sure that part gets aligned, and then just slide the end cap back on and use your 3/16 Allen and retighten the bolt, and then you're ready to go on with the rest of your installation. Okay, and this is the newer generation end cap with the wedge. Now, in case you did remove the screw all the way, this is how you would put it back together. Make sure that you have the wedge is marked left and it matches with the left end cap. And in theory, you only took off one side, so this really shouldn't be a problem. But in case you took off both sides, make sure you match up left and left and right. Go ahead and place the wedge with the holes lined up with the little dimple here fitting between these two little walls on the end cap. And then go ahead and take your 1/4-20 screw and just get it started, maybe a half a turn, or a half turn to a turn. You don't need to do much at all. In fact, you don't want to put it in too much, because as you insert the screw, it starts to expand. Then go ahead and hold the screw in with your finger and get this wedge part into the center of the extrusion here first. So go ahead and line that up and get that started in the extrusion. Then once that's free to go in, kind of wiggle the rest of the end cap on, and then just push it all the way down in position. And then once it's in, go ahead and tighten this screw. Now this is a little bit easy to strip out, so just once you start to feel it snug up and bottom out, you're done, that's it. So just a little snug there, and the end cap's on and you're ready to go.